Hey guys, it's Bellamy here from Midnight Suns, and I thought this would be a good time for us to go through the Season 7 mid-season patch notes. Yeah, this is from October 31st, Overwatch 2 retail patch notes. Let's go through it together. Alright, so first we have D.Va. Fusion Cannons, movement speed penalty reduced from 40 to 30%, and Micro Missiles projectile speed increased from 40 to 50. So D.Va is a very tricky tank. I wouldn't say she is hard meta, but she is not as bad as a lot of people think she is. So just so you guys know, I know that D.Va is not really used that often in like the American and probably European Overwatch servers, especially in GM lobbies, but over here in Asia, I'm living in Singapore, so I usually get matched with like the really good Japanese and Korean players. Yeah, D.Va is actually not that uncommon here. And I think a lot of people are playing her wrongly. From what I've seen how the actual high level players here play her, she's actually not a dive tank. Even though she has high mobility, you actually play her as a frontline brawler kind of tank. You know, like she's just there to defense matrix the front and really like zone off your enemy tank. Like her defense matrix can prevent the enemy tank from being healed by like the Kiriko and the Ana and the Lifeweaver and Baptiste and all that. So that's how she's really played. She's really more like a frontline brawler tank, and she's actually really good in that role. So I really don't think she needed to be buffed because she's actually really good right now, just that people don't realize it because they're playing her wrongly. If you see some of the really good Japanese and Korean tank players play D.Va, I think you will know that she's actually one of the best tanks in the game. But because Orisa and Zarya are like dominating most of the lobbies across the ranks, people don't really look at D.Va that much. But yeah, she's actually really good, and now she's been buffed, so I won't be surprised if she becomes meta at this rate. But okay, next we move on to Doomfist. His rocket punch has been nerfed. Minimum wall stun duration decreased from 0.25 to 0.15 seconds. Maximum wall stun duration decreased from 0.75 to 0.6 seconds. So basically what this means is that if he punches you into a wall and you get stunned, now you get stunned for a shorter duration, and it's quite a lot shorter actually. So all the support players with like escape skills, now you can react a lot more quickly after getting stunned when you get punched through the wall. So it's much harder for Doomfist to kill heroes like Kiriko and Moira right now. So next we have Winston. Tesla Cannon secondary fire range increased from 30 to 40 meters. So yeah, I think this is good. Winston honestly has not been very good in the recent meta because dive is actually pretty bad right now. Like I said, like even when you play D.Va, you don't dive with her, you just play her as like a frontline tank. And you can't do that with Winston. Winston is really a full-on dive tank. And because dive isn't that good, except in like high-level coordinated play like Overwatch Contenders or Overwatch League or even the World Cup right now, in those scenarios when everyone is really coordinated, then Winston is good, like dive is good. But if you just talk about ranked, like even all the way up to top 500, dive is really not very good right now. So Winston really needed this buff just so he can kind of fight a bit better from range with his Tesla Cannon, but I still don't think he's gonna be meta. Okay, next we are moving on to the damage heroes. We have Bastion. Configuration Assault. Cooldown increased from 10 to 12 seconds and weapon spread increased by 10%. So this is severely needed. I'm glad they finally nerfed his Assault mode. Now he still does his job well as a tank buster. He's like Reaper. Basically you use Bastion just to melt down the enemy tank. So even though they increase the cooldown of his Assault tank mode and increase the weapon spread by 10%, it doesn't really affect it that much for his job. Like if he's right in front of the enemy tank, he's still gonna melt them even though the weapon spread has been increased by 10%. However, I think this nerf is good because now let's say he's fighting a Pharah or like someone who's really far away, he won't be killing them so easily now with the increased weapon spread, and 10% is actually quite a lot. So yeah, now he will lose long range duels more frequently, but in close range he can still do his job and melt down tanks. But yeah, now he's not like a Swiss Army knife where he can do everything, which is what it was in like the previous meta. So this is a good change to Bastion. Next we have a nerf to Cassidy, which is so weird. Magnetic Grenade. Cooldown increased from 10 to 12 seconds. So I have no idea why they nerfed Cassidy. He's honestly, I wouldn't say he's bad, but he's definitely far from being one of the better DPS heroes in the current meta. He's not been very good for quite a while now, and for them to nerf his Magnetic Grenade, I guess they just want to nerf CC. But honestly, Cassidy himself is not a very meta choice, far from it. So I really don't know why they still nerfed him further. Like, he really wasn't that good to begin with, but oh well, we shall see. Alright, next we have Mei. Endothermic Blaster. Slow effect decreased from 40 to 30%. So, Mei is one of those heroes that is really weird. Like, she's a lot harder to play than people think she is. Like, the wall placement with her is like the most important thing about her kit. And if you have a fully coordinated team, Mei is freaking amazing. Like, she's even meta. Like, look at the World Cup. You look at how many people are using Mei in the World Cup. Yeah, she's really good. However, in ranked play, when there is very poor coordination, sometimes you can wall off the enemy tank and your team won't take advantage of it because of the lack of coordination. I guess this nerf to her Endothermic Blaster is justified, because she was really dominating a lot of very high level coordinated play. But yeah, in regular ranked play, I don't think she's really like that hard meta, and nerfing her Endothermic Blaster now, I'm not sure how much of an effect it will have, but yeah. I guess we'll still see her around sometimes, yeah, but it's not like you see her in every game. She doesn't like completely destroy lobbies like Bastion. But okay, I think her nerf is fine. So next we have Sombra. She has been buffed, which I think she really needed this buff. EMP ultimate cost decreased by 10%. So Sombra is one of those heroes that is pretty good at the lower ranks, but the higher you go, she's honestly not very good at all. Like, she's so easily countered by half of the supports out there. Like, if you are playing Brick or you're playing Moira, or even Lifeweaver to a certain extent, like, Sombra can never kill you. As long as you have some awareness and are prepared to deal with her when she goes into your backline, she can't kill you. Like, there's so many ways to escape from her. She's only really good at like getting rid of annoying Widowmakers. Like, that's her primary job nowadays. Like, if you see your enemy has a really good Widowmaker, you just get your teammate to play Sombra, or you play Sombra, and you just shut down that Widowmaker until that Widowmaker switches, and then you switch. But other than that, Sombra is really not hard meta at all right now. So yeah, I really think she needed a buff. She's really not been very good. So having her ultimate cost be decreased is a good buff. And next we have Symmetra. So Symmetra is very much like Mei. When you have a coordinated team, Symmetra is amazing. But when you talk about ranked play, honestly, she's not been very good. Like, even in GM top 500, there are a lot of uncoordinated teams, so unless you have a Reinhardt, it's quite hard to play Symmetra actually. But because she's so dominating just like Mei in the high level coordinated play, I can see why they decided to nerf her. So her base shield health being reduced from 125 to 100 is a good thing. But for the vast majority of players, I think you won't really notice it. Like, Symmetra is very rarely used anyway in regular ranked play. And now she'll probably be used even less, because she just lost like around 10% of her health. And alright, let's move on to Widowmaker. Widow's Kiss. Unscoped shots to reach maximum spread increased from 3 to 7, and Infrasight ultimate cost reduced by 10%. So this is just a pure buff to both her primary fire and her ult. She doesn't really use her primary fire anyway, but I guess now she can contest Sombras a bit better. Now at least before you get killed by Sombra, you will be able to do a bit more damage. And also her ultimate being reduced by 10%, that's good. I think her ultimate is alright. It's not one of the best ultimates in the game, but it's always good for getting information on your enemies. So yeah, overall I don't think she'll be any more oppressive than she currently is with her one shot. And she will deal a bit better with Sombra, and this won't really affect how she one-shots everyone else anyway. So yeah, not much of a change to Widowmaker except that she's better against Sombra now. And now for the big changes, we have the support nerfs. So we'll start with Ana. Biotic Grenade cooldown increased from 10 to 12 seconds. So that's actually pretty massive. That's a 20% cooldown increase. People have been complaining for years that Biotic Grenade has been too oppressive. Like, honestly, if you're playing Reinhardt, having a Biotic Grenade on you all the time is kind of screwed up. So yeah, I think increasing the cooldown is much needed. So it should definitely be less irritating to play against, especially if you are a tank. Next we have Baptiste. Immortality Field. Health decreased from 150 to 125. Cooldown increased from 23 to 25 seconds. So I'm happy that they are nerfing his Immortality Field, but I think they are not dealing with a very big issue with this character. In GM top 500 lobbies right now, Baptiste is extremely domineering, not only because of his utility skills, but more importantly because of his insane damage. Like, I go into games all the time where I see Baptiste doing more damage than all the DPS in the game. And that's what they really need to nerf in my opinion. They need to nerf his damage very much. And I know he's one of those heroes that in the lower ranks, and I don't just mean like bronze to like diamond, I mean like even low GM and high masters and below, Baptiste, his damage isn't that crazy. But once you reach top 500, Baptiste is absolutely insane. Like, there are so many Korean and Japanese pro Baptiste players that I constantly run into that can just kill you in a second. I've seen so many situations, right, where the Baptiste will just pop his out and get his window, right, and he'll just mow down the enemy team on his own because that's how powerful he is. And he's pretty hard to use because of his recoil and his primary fire. But these pro players are so good at controlling his recoil and aiming, like their mechanical skill is just insane, that they are just hitting all their headshots, right? He might as well not have any recoil at that point. So I think what they should do to nerf his damage without really affecting the lower ranks is they should reduce the recoil on his gun while decreasing the damage. They will do less damage per shot, but they will be able to hit more shots because the recoil is reduced, so it's easier to hit the enemies. So overall, they will still be doing the same amount of damage. And by doing that, by reducing his recoil and reducing his damage, that will also prevent these crazy GM top 500 players from abusing his insane damage. And by nerfing his damage, he won't be constantly dominating the damage scoreboard. So yeah, that's what I think they should do with Baptiste. I mean, I like this Immortality Field nerf, but they really need to nerf his damage as well. Just nerf his damage and reduce his recoil, and the lower ranked players won't even notice it. But the higher ranked players won't be able to abuse his damage so much. And next we have Illari. So thankfully, she is getting a damage nerf. So her solar rifle primary fire projectile size reduced from 0.1 to 0.05 meters. So even though her damage itself isn't reduced, it's a lot harder for her to hit her shots now. They basically halved the size of her projectile. And this is much needed. Just like Baptiste, her damage was just dominating all high level play. So reducing the size of her projectile by half is amazing. I'm really glad they did this. And then we have her healing pylon, base health reduced from 75 to 50. And cooldown when destroyed increased from 12 to 15 seconds. Yeah, I think this is needed as well. This is a good nerf. Her healing pylon is just too much free value. Like if you're pushing the payload, you attach your healing pylon to the back of the payload and the enemies can't destroy it and your team is just constantly getting healed by pushing the payload. Yeah, it's kind of irritating, so I'm glad they nerfed the healing pylon because yeah, it's like a third healer in the game and it was so irritating, yeah. At least now it will be a little bit less annoying, hopefully. And next we have Kiriko, Protection Suzu, cooldown increased from 14 to 15 seconds. So I think this is a very tiny nerf, like it's not even a 10% cooldown nerf. I think most Kiriko players might not even realize it, yeah. But yeah, I mean it's good nerf, Suzu is kind of overpowered to be honest. But yeah, overall not a meta changing nerf, like Kiriko will definitely still be used very regularly. And next we have Lifeweaver. So this nerf, I really don't know what they are doing. Why are they nerfing Lifeweaver? So I can understand, maybe in the lower ranks, his healing is way too high and he's just keeping everyone alive too much. But in the higher ranks, Lifeweaver is not meta at all. And now with this nerf, I really don't think he'll be played that much. I mean, he wasn't already being played that much, but now he'll be played even less because he's been massively nerfed. So let's go through his nerfs. Healing Blossom, ammo reduced from 20 to 16, and max heal reduced from 75 to 70. So the ammo being reduced from 20 to 16, I can live with that, you know. It's a 20% ammo decrease, which is quite big, but yeah, it's alright, you know, you can just do a bit more damage while you're reloading. However, the max heal being reduced from 75 to 70, that is a massive nerf. And it is a much bigger nerf than people realize. You might think, oh, it's just a 5 HP max heal reduction. And you might think, when you play Lifeweaver, you don't usually charge to the max 75 anyway, like usually charge to 50 or to 65. And then you just shoot it out around that range instead of charging to full. However, what you might not realize is that not only have they reduced his max heal charge from 75 to 70, that has also inadvertently reduced his max heal charge per second. So let me explain with the mathematical calculations cause it might be a little complicated. So originally, you would reach a full 75 health heal charge over 1 second when you are charging your primary fire. But now they've reduced that to a 70 health per 1 second full charge. So even though the full charge up time has remained the same at 1 second, the maximum health charge has been reduced from 75 to 70. What that means is that while you would have previously taken 0.66 seconds or 2/3 of a second to build a 50 HP charge, now you're going to take approximately 0.71 seconds to build that same 50 HP charge, which is an almost 10% nerf to your heal charge rate. Now that 10% heal charge rate might seem small to a lot of people, but over the course of an entire game, we are talking about thousands of healing that could have been done. And it's gonna be harder now to keep your teammates alive because you are charging up your heals slower. So yeah, this is a pretty massive nerf. And then we also have his life grip nerf, cooldown increased from 16 to 19 seconds. I think they should have just done this life grip nerf and not nerf his healing blossom. But yeah, now he's really been massively nerfed. I think of all the heroes on this list, he's been hit one of the hardest. And speaking of heroes who have been hit the hardest with the nerfs, let's move on to the final hero, Zenyatta. So I have no idea what they are doing. Zenyatta has not been meta in a long time and they are still nerfing him. So his harmony orb, time to wear off when not in line of sight, increased from 3 to 5 seconds. So this is actually a buff for his harmony orb for his healing. However, the nerf comes when you talk about his Orb of Discord. It can no longer be applied to the same target for 7 seconds after the effect has been removed. And they've increased its range from 30 to 40 meters, so that range increase is a buff. But the fact that you can no longer reapply it to the same target for 7 seconds after the effect has been removed, that is a massive nerf, and a lot of Zenyatta players are gonna have to learn how to play the new Zenyatta because like you can no longer remove and send your Orb of Discord to multiple enemies. Now you must really choose your enemy, and this really badly reduces Zenyatta's survivability as well. Not only his damage potential but his own survivability, because let's say you have an enemy Moira diving your backline and fighting you 1v1. In the past you could Orb of Discord her, and even if she fades away you can just re-orb her and continue shooting her, and hopefully you still have a chance to win that 1v1. But now if you Discord orb her and she fades away, you cannot re-orb her for another 7 seconds. By that time you're gonna be dead. So it's gonna be even harder for you to win those 1v1 fights against people who are diving your backline now. Like even to a Tracer or Sombra or whatever. So yeah, this is a massive nerf. I have no idea why they did this to Zenyatta. He has already been one of the least survivable heroes, and now he's the worst. Like he's by far the least survivable hero even more now. If your enemy is playing any hero that can go into your backline at all, just don't play Zenyatta because you're gonna be dead. His base health has increased from 50 to 75, so he has a total of 225 HP now. But I think overall his survivability has still been reduced because of his Discord Orb nerf. And yeah, that's all for these patch notes. And I don't know whether to be happy or sad, but what I predicted would happen has happened. Moira and Brick, my two favorite supports, the two supports that I've played to reach top 500, they have not been touched at all, and I have a feeling that they are going to become really meta now. And I know some people might think I'm crazy for thinking Moira is going to become meta, but a few seasons ago I said that Torbjorn and Bastion are extremely underrated and are going to become meta, and people didn't believe me, and look at what happened. And now for Moira and Brick, I think the same thing is going to happen. So people might not realize this, and I didn't realize it myself as well, but somebody sent me this link. So if you go to Overbuff, which tracks all the competitive data in Overwatch, if you go into the Grandmaster skill tier and see in the past month, you will see that Moira is actually the third most picked support in the game, and she has one of the highest win rates at 51.26%. Like that's even higher than Ana, who is the most popular support in the game. And crazily enough, she's even picked more than Kiriko, who everyone complains is overpowered. And she's also winning more than Kiriko. So yeah, Moira is actually freaking amazing. I have no idea why so many people still think she's bad. You know, when I play Moira in top 500 GM lobbies, no one bats an eye. No one complains that I'm playing Moira. And I see other people play Moira all the time. But maybe it's because I'm playing in the Asian server. I don't know why there are a lot of pro players over here, like the pro Japanese and Korean players, who really think Moira is good. I guess in Europe and in US, maybe Moira is a lot different there. Like I know a lot of people think Moira is bad, which is so weird. But yeah, Moira is really, really good. As long as your tank isn't playing a dive tank, which is basically every game now, like very rarely do you even see dive tanks anymore. Like Doomfist would be the most common one. But yeah, if your tank is not a dive tank, you can just play Moira, it's so easy. She wins most of her games, she has the highest Q death average, and she's the third most picked support in Grandmaster right now. And unfortunately, Brick is the least most picked, but she has the highest win rate, so she's once again one of those very underrated supports. The difference between Brigitta and Moira is that Brigitta is a lot more situational. I would say Brigitta is an easy win if the enemy is playing any hero that's diving your backline. Then you just play Brigitta and just completely counter that hero. Like Brigitta alone can make Genji, Tracer, Sombra unplayable. Like you can even just screw the enemy Winston or Doomfist over just by playing Brig. But yeah, if the enemies are not playing any of those heroes, then there are usually better choices. Like nowadays, I will even just play Moira. Unless they are playing any of those dive heroes, then I'll switch to Brig and then I'll get an easy win. But yeah, if they are not giving me an easy win, then I'll play Moira. But yeah, with most of the utility supports being massively nerfed now, I can see Moira and Brig both being played a lot more often. I mean, Moira is already the third most played, but she's gonna be played even more now. And they already have really good win rates in GM lobbies, so you know, there's no reason not to play them now. But yeah, what do you guys think? Go down to your comments and let me know. For me, I'm really happy because my two main supports, Moira and Brig, are really good right now because they weren't touched, they weren't nerfed. So yeah, I think the time has come for all of us Moira and Brig mains to shine. Anyway, thanks again for watching everybody, and as always, stay gold. Bye guys.